Good day, Snugglers. Sean here. Just wanted to thank everyone for their patience. We received some sad news from friends of the Snug, and as a mark of respect, wanted to hold off on this week's release. From Tomo, Gary, and I, we just want to let our friends know we're thinking of them, and we hope everyone enjoys our Halloween episode. Thanks for listening.
Snug Life is all about the conversations that you have in the pub.
We can talk about bullshit things, we can talk about serious things. Snug is a home away from home.
Welcome to Snug Life with Tomo,
Sean?
And Gaz.
So, hello, how are we?
Great. How are you, Tom?
I'm good, I'm tired. I was midway through the Arsenal game. I just dropped out. So, for listeners here, it's 9 o'clock in Dublin on a Tuesday. What about you, lads?
I'm still on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Tuesday, and it's beautiful and sunny here in Las Vegas.
And Gaz, I believe you're in the future.
Yeah, 7 a.m. Wednesday morning here. Back in Sydney, very happy. Weather's nice, looking forward to getting out.
I can't believe you're in the future. It's such a crazy feeling. I haven't even gotten to dinner time yesterday for you.
Any crack out of Vegas, Sean? I know you're there for a work conference, I think you said, right?
Yeah, here for work. So
that's no crack then. No crack to report.
Yeah, it's tonight will be a big night. We'll go out celebrate tonight. So here until Thursday, and then back to London. So next week's Snug, the two of us will be on the same time zone.
The three of us might be in the same time zone soon. If Gaz, were you mentioning something about
I've heard a rumor.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back.
Could there be an in-person podcast on the horizon?
There could be.
In a real Snug near you?
Mid-November, potentially, yeah. I'm trying to get, early November maybe, I'm trying to get back. Again, just more work travel, but to a far more exotic location, Dublin.
For our listeners, I think it's important that we exercise an episode from the Snug, so that we are, we're legitimized. We don't want to just talk about being in a Snug. I think we need to be...
To be fair, wedding the podcast said, I suppose, or maybe christening the podcast. The podcast is, 6 months old. Or
we need to really bring it in. The only thing I fear that episode...
Wet the head.
I feel like there could be a large amount of editing. And I also feel like it'll be at least a 6-hour recording session.
I think that would be good.
And another thing.
totally unfiltered, and just watch as it expands as each pint goes down, how we get looser and looser. It could be interesting.
Be talking about all sorts. We'll probably solve all the world's
Snug
problems.
Unplugged. The Snug Unplugged.
Snug Unplugged. I love that.
Not sure if many people know, but Halloween's actually old Irish or ancient Celtic festival, known as An Samhain in Irish. Goes all the way back to 2,000 years ago, when pagans would light bonfires on the 1st of November to honour the saints and scare off evil and all that kind of thing. They'd wear costumes, they'd eat treats, and they'd carve pumpkins. So all of that is actually part of the ancient history. But today, me, Tom, Sean, we're keen to get back into what Halloween is like, what it used to be like, what the current connotations of it, maybe even tell a few scary stories, try and freak each other out a bit. And hope you enjoy it.
I was just wondering, you go straight from Halloween decorations into Christmas. I would love to know if our listeners are big on the Halloween. Do you leave kind of scary things outside, and do you have some food there in the expectation of someone knocking on the door, or are you going to be giving the apple and the nuts that we hated getting as a child?
So I'm in the middle of nowhere, so we don't have an awful lot of trick-or-treaters out here.
Oh, that sounds creepy.
Back in the day, I would have, in Artane, I would have had a few little bits there just to throw something out if they knocked
Well, we
it,
used to always give, grief to the house that didn't have,
good shit.
good sweets. And I'm now that person. I'll be like, shit, what do I have in the fridge? Here's a Baby Bell.
Here's a litre of milk.
He's giving them slices of ham and
some coffee,
bits of
some coffee
cheese.
grounds. It's really, really sad.
Here's an act of milk for everybody. Yeah, it's not.
Some oat milk that I bought a year ago when I was trying.
You can smoke cigarettes.
There's always that one house on the street, though, that makes the big effort. And you've got to give a little hat tip, right? Like somebody that's making it for the kids.
As a kid, man. What was the buzz
Oh,
of it was
it was
always
so
one of the best
good.
nights of the year. Like, you almost preferred it to Christmas in some ways. There was a kind of devilment to it, right? There was a...
Yes.
Yeah, but T, is that because we were the Gurriers?
We
Were
weren't
we
that
the
Gurrier,
Gurriers?
though. We weren't that
I don't
bad.
think we were the
No,
Gurriers.
like, we threw a few eggs.
Did the polite, posh, like going to bed early kids, like doing their homework before bed kind of kids, like did they get as much of a kick out of Halloween as we did? Like, had they even ever met the Banger Man?
Maybe not, but I think the Banger Man was pretty unanimous. Like, I think if you were to ask most people our age about their childhood and Halloween, they would have had a Banger Man in their
Was
their
it the
area.
same Banger Man, or was it a network of Banger Men?
No, well, like my guy in particular was out there. So there was a housing estate very close to where I lived, Abbey Lee, and it was a bit rough. The name was bad in Swords, and we went through this like back alley, and you know those back alley houses that lead into the
You
garden?
went to the Banger Man's gaff.
Yeah, man, in the back garden, and they had a little. There was like a wooden door in the alleyway to the back garden, and you walk in. This guy's just fucking got a big bag of bangers in his 40s and 50s. It's so
He's wholesaling them out of his. It's like a car boot sale.
well, I say wholesaling.
Oh, he's definitely top retail.
Bought a few Black Cats, a couple of bottle rockets, you know
But
yourself.
T, in Portmarnock, the Banger Man came to us.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
it was more a call. It was more a call service.
Bougie fuckers.
Yeah, we had the bougie Banger Man.
He came to
The
you.
Deliveroo.
Express service.
But honestly, Tomo, it was the wildest thing. You had like word would go out on the Gurrier text line, and you'd be given a time at the middle green. And
Yep.
sure
Oh,
enough,
for the rendezvous.
this little kid, he was like a junior Banger Man, like an apprentice Banger Man, and he just got turfed out the back of this van while it was still moving. And
Exactly.
You'd like
And you got
you'd
what you
give
got.
him.
That was
You
it.
didn't
Yeah,
really
that
have
was
too
it.
much choice. You got what
You
was
handed
ever
him a
there.
fiver, and you said Rocket, Banger, or
Black Cats.
Candle or whatever.
remember the Black
yeah,
Cats?
and of course the Black Cat. And he'd just whip up his T-shirt and there'd be a load of gear stashed down his pants. But I remember there was like a citizen's arrest on him, which is fairly rough. Like
Oh.
a group of the one of the families, or a group of
Yeah.
families, like the dads all came out of the houses. I know I sound like a kid describing this situation, but this is what I was a kid when it happened.
dads came out.
So all the dads came out and literally like just manhandled the apprentice Banger Man and like brought him off around the corner and kind of held him up against the wall and called the police.
Wow.
But then fucking the Gurrier Text Network got into firing, and the Banger Man's dad or boss came around the corner, and there was like nearly an altercation between the dads and the senior Banger Man. And
Senior
then
Banger Dad.
the-
Banger Dad.
yeah,
is on
Banger
it.
Dad. Yeah, they released the young lad anyway, and
In exchange for more bangers.
yeah,
That's all he
there
could
was
barter
also like I really do think we were Gurriers, because there was also the scenario where one of the lads bought bangers with a fake fiver, and I mean like this was
Oh, wow.
printed on a crappy
don't
like
cheat the Banger Man.
old Irish printer that was half running out of ink, and like the two sides, like he basically glued two pieces of paper together and then just like scrunched it up in his hand. It was terrible, right? But it was like it was backwards on one side. Like the thing didn't make sense because you couldn't figure out the logistics of how to do like a mirrored print. It was absolutely shite. And the Banger Man rang him. Somebody ratted him out.
And got his number.
Banger Man got his number,
And
rang
came
him
back to him
off
for the fiver.
and fucking came back and took the fiver off him, gave him a slap, and got back in his banger van.
Yeah, you need respect. You definitely need respect as a banger man.
The banger man feels to me like the kind of he stands outside the law. There's the banger man. You don't know what way the banger man's going to react to this sort of affront. You know, he might just take things into his own. What kind of connections bangers are generally taken from up north? You know, people up north, you're getting into these IRA sort of narratives that God knows you could get kneecapped, but you could get a couple of black cats tied to your knees for if you didn't watch yourself.
Black cats tied to your knees.
We never thought though that these guys like don't just work for one night a year. So they're definitely doing other illegal trading the rest of the year. It never crossed our mind. We thought the whole year he was just collecting his stash for
like
for
a
that
squirrel.
month of October.
No, like a little banger squirrel. Not at all.
Oh my god!
And then the bonfires began. I think the best Halloween nights were when we were, early teens.
Yes.
After the whole, dressing up as a kid, trick or treating, and then before you'd go out to nightclubs and, people just be wearing random outfits. And, that was a great time because we were allowed out later and possibly, have the odd can on the green, chilling by a nice bonfire. And then as years
keeping
went
an eye
on,
out for an incoming banger.
yeah. And then as years went on, we ended up having to get creative in our dress, fancy dress going out. I do recall there was some great ones that some of our friends wore.
Some great ones, but also how much has the needle moved? Like, when I think of some of the ones you used to see, and look, we don't have to get into who wore what, but there was definitely some things that maybe wouldn't be socially acceptable now that you used to see on a regular basis.
No, you'd end up on the front of the Irish Times now with some.
Yeah, you would definitely not pass the politically correct.
Yeah.
I think it's changed though. I think now people invest way more in their outfits. They're getting really professional outfits.
Like, yeah, everyone seems to be a makeup artist now. Everyone can
Yeah.
make a zombie face falling off easily with like beans and pate and stuff. It's phenomenal.
Spot the makeup artist. Tom, have you been taking courses?
Well, I got two tins of batteries.
The costumes have come a long way. I was thinking about this today, right? So do you remember when you'd be younger and you'd be packed off, head into school with your costume on, and 9 out of 10 kids were just wearing a black bag, right? Do you remember that?
Cut in a different
yeah,
way.
Okay.
a
Question.
vampire.
Question.
I did a vampire.
I
with
was a black bag vampire several times.
Vampire with gel
Pictures
in the
of it.
hair.
Oh yeah,
and the
gel in the
teeth.
hair, gel in the hair.
Fake teeth.
And you might have done a couple of little lines under the eyes.
I remember just doing black eyes with like face paint
And a white face.
and just a regular hoodie of some kind. Nothing
In
else.
your mouth, stick a bit of makeup on you
lads.
or whatever, and you're like, it's fine tonight, right?
I was literally going to ask,
gel.
what the hell were the people wearing the black bags? You guys have obviously taken it to the next level with the face paint and everything,
Obviously.
but there were kids just wearing
course.
black bags. I think I rocked a plain old black bag one day when
Just a black
Connie
bag.
and Jerry were just out of ideas.
Was it Halloween, guys, or was that just normal day at school?
This is just a,
Sent me off with an apple in my pocket and a black bag.
That'll do.
That's Halloween. Mom, it's March. Go on in school there. You began.
The old black bag, though, you can do anything with it. You can do absolutely anything with it. So we looked up a couple of stories of myths and might get you a bit creeped out. So do we want to go through a couple of them, lads?
yeah, please.
On the 4th of December 1872, a British-American ship called the Mary Celeste was found empty and adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. It was in perfect condition, cargo intact. The lifeboat was missing, but it looked like the lifeboat had been boarded in an orderly fashion. There was no distress signals or anything wrong, really, or amiss on the boat. So where did the crew go? What happened? And yeah, do we have any theories, lads?
So in 1872, there can't have been that many ships going across. I wonder, imagine being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and just coming across an empty ship. And there wasn't any bodies or
No
anything
bodies,
found?
nothing. Literally, the only thing that like nothing amiss. The lifeboat was gone. Obviously, there's a signal there, but you would have left a note if you're abandoning ship, right? And why abandon ship in the middle of the Atlantic?
It's very funny when you look into these conspiracies or unsolved mysteries, and you're thinking to yourself what you think might have happened, but then you start looking at other people's explanations. Like someone said, a sea monster would have got it.
Sea monster.
A giant squid may have attacked the ship. It's like, I don't know. That's gonna be up there in my reasoning.
I have another one here that's also very creepy. It's called the Dyatlov Pass incident. So this was in Russia. Soviet hikers in 1959 went missing. So they were doing a trek in the Ural Mountains between February the 1st and the 2nd. Something happened. They fled their campsite in the middle of the night. Basically, afterwards, the group's body were discovered. So one victim had major skull damage, 2 had severe chest trauma, and another had a small crack in his skull. 2 of the bodies were missing eyes, 1 was missing a tongue, and 1 had missing eyebrows. The big questions after it is why they left their campsite, and how in the middle of a storm in a mountain were these people brutally, horrifically murdered by the sounds of things. It's just, what do you think there?
The thing with that is, but all the different types of like mutilations and things, and like it doesn't sound like somebody stayed there in that below freezing temperature just doing all of this. So did it happen instantly like the movies would make you believe?
What the fuck, right? That's where it gets really...
Like, imagine you lived in that fucking town.
Oh my God.
What are you doing the next day? Are you taking your kids out of there? You gone? Like, you on the next flight out of Kyrgyzstan or whatever it is?
Is it just me, or is it creepier because it's like 1959 Soviet fucking Russia as well? It makes it so much scarier, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like in the past there was a lot more mysteries that I'd believe in. Guys, I've got a very good one here, right? And this is a story that I found online, okay?
Oh.
And it's someone writing it in as opposed to a famous story, which I feel gets me a little bit more.
Yes.
So here it is. When I was about 9, I went on vacation with my family to a seaside town in the next state over. None of us had ever been there before, and we're having a great time exploring the beach in the town. We stopped at an ice cream shop and were enjoying ourselves when my dad noticed a picture on the wall. It was my older brother and I enjoying ice cream in that same shop, only in this photo we were the same age, about 3 years old. My brother is 4 years older than me, so there's no way we could have looked the same age when I was 4. The creepy part that made us all certain it was us was I had a very distinctive blonde streak in my dark hair, as well as dimples, and so did this girl. The boy looked exactly like my brother at that age too. Also, very distinctive blonde hair and facial expression. My parents even asked the employees working if they knew who these kids were, and no one had any info to give us.
Oh, that's good. Oh my God.
That's real creepy.
You just think about being in that moment, and I'm sure all of us are envisaging the photo of the 2 kids with the ice cream in the sleepy seaside town.
Mm-hmm. Creeps me out.
I was reading through like the unsolved mysteries and stuff like that, and they were all a little bit like talking about like what you've been going on about, like, and they get you thinking and stuff. But then I was like, no, I want something real. So I go to Reddit and I'm just cruising through it, trying to find real life spooky stories. Now, obviously, anybody can come here and make this up, but let's take the view that these are genuine people telling genuine stories. So let me read one out here because I think it's a cracker. It freaked me the fuck out anyway, right? So when my grandparents bought their house for a family of 10, must have been an Irish family, my grandpa found a fake wall upstairs. He tore it down to make more room for the family. Behind the wall were children's clothes and play toys, almost like they walled off the room in a hurry.
Wow.
Right? So my mom told me stories of sitting in her bedroom and something circling the walls around her, making sounds like almost like the wallpaper was being torn. But it wasn't. The wallpaper was fine. She then moved out of that room, and her younger sister moved into the same room. She would wake up with the pictures she had hung up on the wall lying on her chest in the morning.
Fuck.
Yes. So all of the sisters and brothers all had different stories about hearing footsteps coming up the stairs and stopping outside their bedroom doors in the middle of the night.
That
At different
is so
nights,
creepy.
right? Children's footsteps, like really light. So there's nothing beyond that, but isn't that just like
Terrifying. I love it. That is
Again, children. It's just.
oh Sean, it's hitting all the marks for
it's
you
hitting
there,
all
isn't
the
it?
marks. All the marks.
But going back to the one I gave a minute ago about, because it's living rent free in my head here, the haunted house by the kids, right? Mm-hmm. If your kids came to you, and obviously none of us have kids, but just imagine your kids come to you and start telling you these stories. Are you like, are you going to believe them? Are you going to be like, let's get the fuck out of here? Are you bringing the local priest around? And I mean this like genuinely, right? What do you do?
come on, if
And
your
then
kids
you
start
swap
hold
out-
on a second. If your kids start telling you scary ghost stories, you don't start fucking agreeing with them and getting the priest. Oh my god, you're right. Like,
We're staying in a hotel. We're leaving. Pack up. Pack your things. We're out
what
here.
the fuck are you gonna do? You're supposed to be the one who protects them. Looks you're the conduit between them and the world.
You stay here. I'm taking everybody out of the house. You're on your own. All the best. But no, great. Serious story. Sorry, serious question, right? This goes on for 6 months, 12 months, and then you swap out the kids. You put in the older kid. Like,
Oh, I thought you meant you change your kids.
freaky.
You change your kids.
no.
You
You
swap
swap
out
out
the
of
kids.
that
You're on your
bedroom.
third set of kids.
Like, and it.
They're still not getting it.
You just, but why? What the fuck do you do, Tomo? Like, it starts to become clear that this is happening. Do you go to the local priest, or do you put the house up for sale?
Yeah,
Do
it's
you
interesting.
just tell them to suck it up? It's not happening. You tell them it's all in their head. Do you stop feeding them cheese?
I would start putting cameras and stuff up to kind of have a look at what was. That would be my initial. I'd go down the Paranormal Activity route. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but I'd
that's
start
good.
placing a few things and just getting an idea of what we're dealing with.
For a man
You know.
that doesn't
Yeah.
believe in any of this, that's
Yeah.
a pretty big step that you'd make.
You're asking me to lean in here. I'm trying to lean in. No, I would say this is bullshit,
Keep going,
and I
Tim.
would. I would fold my arms and say, "Be sensible, children," and that would be it.
Be out of the house.
Halloween over. Let's get ready for Christmas.
Sean.
Be out of
be
the house.
gone.
Not a chance.
Out of the
I
gaff.
think I'd take everyone on holidays, and when we came back, we had a new house, so the kids wouldn't think it's connected to what was going on. They would just think,
very
"Oh,
So
considerate.
you'd front up and be
Really
like,
a good
everything's
dad.
fine, but deep down you're
yeah."
dying
And say, "Oh, we were
inside."
always moving. We were always moving.
Nice.
Totally."
Shit, Sean, do you remember you and I driving through, I think we were in Colorado in the Jeep. This is on a J1, and Sean and I were driving this car across the US for a friend of his. Mm-hmm. Yeah, J1 is a visa you get from Irish students, gets 3 months between their university thing in the US. And yeah, so Sean, you and I are driving through Colorado. This like deer popped up in the middle of the road, and like literally was like that movie, like that scene from the movie where you could just see the eyes, and we had to like come to like this complete stop
Terrifying.
in front of it. It didn't flinch, it just stared at us and then just started walking off the road, and we were already starting to get a little bit like amped up.
Oh
right?
my
What
God,
age were
guys,
we? Like,
I remember this now. this. Oh, I see. I'm really good at just removing parts of life that scare me.
so let me keep going here. We are starting to get amped up because we're in this Jeep. It's an open top, like soft top, so we're exposed completely. It is pitch black. There's no road lights. There's no cars for
We
hours.
had no headlights. We had a
We
torch.
had no headlights. We were
you
using a
remember.
torch out the side
Our
of the car,
headlights
which was a
went-
good.
Yeah.
this was a good laugh for a little while. Don't get me wrong. We thought we were like MacGyver, so industrious. This is like the wild middle of nowhere up in the mountains.
In the Rocky Mountains, yeah.
And we're cruising and we come across this deer, and it's just those two eyes staring dead at us. It doesn't move. We come to this complete stop, kind of like
Silence.
not saying
Silence.
anything to each other, because we're now like completely and utterly terrified out of our minds. No one's saying anything, and then we slow, like Sean starts braking, and we like basically slow up to it, thinking it's gonna run off the road, but then
Never moved.
you eventually just stop, and then you're all three of us, well, me and Sean are looking at the deer, and it's looking at us, and it hasn't moved an inch. And then all
Pitch
these
dark.
things, like, you know your mind starts running and go, oh my god, is that a real deer? Is
Yeah,
this an
yeah.
ambush? Like, is that a ghost deer? Is it gonna fucking move? Is it gonna attack us?
Ghost deer.
And we were so
yeah,
exposed in that Jeep. It was like an open top Jeep, and you know the
Oh.
doors, everything's open, and we just sat there,
Oh, you're
and
looking
you could
for
just
trouble.
hear the idling of the engine.
Yeah, because we had no radio in the Jeep, right? So it's pitch black. We're not speaking to each other. I'm holding the flashlight at the deer's head from sitting inside the car. Me and Sean aren't speaking, and it is so surreal even thinking about it now, right? So anyway, like, thank fuck, the ghost deer kind of strolls off to the side as if we weren't even there. And we start driving again.
Are we calling it the ghost deer
And-
now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah,
we
definitely ghost
Sean
deer.
and I don't really speak for the next 2 or 3 minutes, because we're both a bit terrified, and we're like, let's just get that behind us as quickly as we can, whatever the fuck that
Naturally.
experience was. And then like another 5 minutes passes. We're like, whew, yeah, that was a bit freaky. Shit, we need petrol.
Oh my
So-
god! I was hoping you'd
so-
remember that part.
So we get to like the needle's going down, and we are in the middle of nowhere now, and the scene is still the same. Pitch black, stars above us, no radio. We're not really speaking to each other anymore because our senses are pinging.
We had a
So
job to do at
heightened.
that stage. We had a job to
Survive.
do. Get the fuel in, and this petrol
So-
station was straight out of the movies. There was 2 pumps.
Oh, Tomo, we came upon this thing, and it's like Sean's describing, 2 shitty little pumps, no attendant, no lights, pitch black, this like creaking gate off in the corner. And we're sat there again. The only noise is the idling engine. As we come in, I think like a sensor activates, and this shitty little light comes on over the pump.
Everyone can
So
see
now we're
it.
in this little cone of light that we can't really see out
All
of.
the monsters in the dark can see you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we're like,
we're
oh
exposed.
my god. And like my back is going now thinking about it, and we look at each other and we're like, right, let's just fucking get this fucking done. And we're both G'd. Like, we're amped. We're ready for the ghost deer to come back. He's gonna get a big lamp across the head. And so we're just there filling the petrol, and every noise, every sound, the two of us are like, huh.
And we didn't interact with anyone. There was no one there. There was a tiny little shop that was closed up. You pay at the pump and you don't interact. And we completely burned it off. And I would say it must have been maybe 15 minutes later, torrential rain hit, and our lights now had really fully gone. And one of our wipers flew off in the rain. And it was the driver's side wiper went. So now we're in the mountains after avoiding the catastrophe with the ghost deer, not getting chopped to pieces at the old man gas station, and now we have no lights, no wiper, and it's pissing rain, and my head's out the side of the door with the rain beating against my face to try and look where
Tomo,
we're going. It was a
we're
freaky
just
moment.
dying to get to this motel that we're trying to find, and like this is like pre Google Maps being very good. Like it did exist, but it was
Shoddy.
a bit ragged, especially in
middle
these
of
types of
nowhere.
areas.
Yeah.
And we were just booting it down this road. We never said like, oh yeah, let's risk our lives here and like pump it to get to this motel, because we didn't want to admit how fucking scared we were, but we were booting it.
You know what the funny thing is? You were so scared of essentially this story is about you seen a deer and you got petrol. You were so scared that you actually put yourselves in way more danger by the way you were driving away from
True.
the only real danger out there was the
so
way you were
true.
driving.
It was me and Sean. We were the only risk to anybody out there.
You were the monsters on the
I
road.
never thought about it like that.
You were there.
Well, fuck you, Tomo. You've ruined it now.
Anyway, great story though it is. I really enjoyed that. I got really into that.
I'd love to wrap this up with a ghost story.
So last night, as we were getting ready for the podcast, I had a little bit of inspiration to write a ghost story of our own. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, go back and do so now, because this will be completely irrelevant otherwise. So inspired by Sean's Darby O'Gill incident.
Of course. As if I'm not freaked out enough right now. You're bringing up my past.
Oh, I had to bring your past straight into it. So it's a limerick, you might say, called Little O'Leary. So, gentlemen, let me get into this. I hope I deliver it well. I practiced earlier.
Oh, I'm so
I
excited.
might add some music afterwards as well, but let's see how we go. There once was a boy named Little O'Leary. A level-headed kid he was, until one day he got carried away watching Darby O'Gill on his own. His heart began to freeze as he heard of banshees, who haunt those with O's in their names. Oh no, what will I do? Cried little O'Leary. He cried and cried all day. He lay awake that night, his eyes open wide, his ears listening for the cries of the old banshee, just out of sight, but surely not far from his bedside. His friends became worried as little O'Leary scurried around the yard the next day. The banshee is coming! The banshee is coming! But nobody believed what he said. As days turned to weeks, little O'Leary moved on. No longer his mind was plagued. Until one night, he woke with a fright. It's the banshee! He exclaimed. He threw his hands to his ears, trying not to hear the banshee wailing in the night. But to little O'Leary's horror, his hands couldn't smother the shrieking in his mind. The very next day, as all the kids played, they asked where little O'Leary was. But nobody knew where little O'Leary went, and little O'Leary was lost. The end. You enjoy that?
Bus. Oh, fantastic.
So
Wow.
please listen back to last week, otherwise that will make no sense.
That is
That was
fantastic, Tomo.
spot on.
The Ballad of Little O'Leary. It just came to me last night. I was like, I should try and write a limerick out of this. And so it flowed.
That's so good. That's so good.
I'm sorry that I wrote a story about you dying, Sean, but it seemed like I had to have an ending. So
Everything I've just said that freaks me out, kids being involved in it, the story of the banshee from the previous week, using my name in your limerick. You've really, really targeted me. And I'm just so grateful that it's 2:45 p.m. and the sun is bright outside and I'm in a very happy place. I'm in an adult playground that is called Las Vegas and I can get over this. And
He's not talking to you or I, Tomo. He's talking to himself here. He's convincing himself.
Oh, he's already
trying
off
to
the pod.
unpsych himself. The banshee's living rent free in his head. You've brought him back. Childhood trauma. Sean, do not eat cheese tonight before bed.
No cheese
That's all I'm
tonight.
gonna tell
not
you.
a chance.
sleep with the nightlight on. Right.
I suppose that's it then.
Excellent
Really enjoyed
week.
that, guys. That was brilliant. That was good fun.
That was brilliant. I hope our listeners enjoyed it too. And make sure to send any good ghost stories, which we will read out next week's pod. And until then, we'll see you next week.